And in lies no doubt, this is one of their strongest tools. So the fact or the idea that I have someone who never studied, I have someone who barely has studied the Arabic language, I have someone who has barely learned the Quran, the basics of his recitation, I have someone who's of amateuristic strategy, we say, amateuristic. He is now the master of Jarh wa Ta'dil and Ilm al-Rijal. He now determines who's just and who's unjust, who's equitable, who's disparaged. He now determines who to listen to, who to watch, who to take from. He now determines who's going to paradise, who's not, whom Allah has mercy upon, whom Allah does not have mercy upon. He now determines who's qualified to speak and teach on Islam. That's a joke, obviously. It's a laughing stock. If you were that concerned about Islam and the Sunnah and Hadith and Aqeedah and the way of the Salaf, you would have left the UK and you've studied. That's first and foremost. You would have left America and you've studied. And you wouldn't have studied for 2-3 years. You would have stayed there for a very long time. You've accomplished things. You would have been evaluated. If you would have had that much ghairah upon Sunnah and Deen and Aqeedah, let alone become a master of other men. And you haven't mastered yourself yet. So that's first and foremost. We don't have to go any further by saying that it's a laughing stock, it's a joke. Okay? It's a masrahiyya, as they say. Paragoz, yani puppets. It's a joke. Shadow puppet. Shadow puppet. It's a joke. Okay, you can't be serious, Akhi. You cannot be serious. Okay, so that's first and foremost. Imam Yahya ibn Ma'in, Imam Ahmed, all of the ulama of hadith, they considered someone who didn't travel, who didn't leave their country, who didn't go out and face the arduous challenges, the pain, the rigorous challenges of rihla. They wouldn't even consider him to be of anything worth mentioning. Imam Ibn Ma'in, he says, Arba'atun la tu'nisu minhum rushdan. He says, 4 people you can expect no good from. Period. There's no good that's going to come from these 4 people. And from those 4 people they mention, وَرَجُلٌ يَكْتُبُ الْحَدِيثَ بِبَلَدِهِ وَلَا يَرْحَلُ فِيهِ. Is the man who writes down hadiths in his own country and he doesn't travel to other countries. And Ibn Ma'in, Imam Ahmad, he lived in Baghdad. That was the center of civilization. The Sumerians, the Assyrians, before Islam, let alone Islam. That was the cradle of civilization, Mesopotamia. Let alone Islam, Hadith, Aqeedah, that was all in Baghdad. And they said, if you don't leave Baghdad, and you didn't go to Kufa, and Basra, and Wasit, if you don't go to the Hijaz, if you don't go to the Mashriq, so on and so forth, then you will not be successful. If you don't go out and seek Hadith from other than your town and your city. So what would they say about someone who never even studied in their city, who doesn't live and didn't live in Baghdad? So before we go further and defending and arguing, we say that it is a joke. It's a joke. It's a laughing stock. You're not a student of knowledge, let alone an imam, let alone an alim, let alone someone who's qualified to speak about the honor of other people and the integrity of other people. So I would say that it stops there. If you have not studied, you have not traveled, you haven't went anywhere for years out of your life systematically, keep silent. Don't talk about ilm hadith. Don't talk about a Muslim's honor because this Muslim was starving and suffering and you were in the UK eating fish and chips.
Yeah, that's interesting about it is that the faulty reasoning, to be explicit here, is that they, for example, I'm giving an example here, they'll use a sheikh like Sheikh Rabi al-Madkhali, they'll say he praised us, okay, so this is a praise system. So now they've given it upon them, so we're the true Salafis for the sake of argument. And what we're going to do is we're going to determine for you guys, as the public, you said, is the one on the haqq, who is the one on the batil, who is the one on the truth, and who is the one on the falsehood. That are being given money. Like S-Pubs, we have Salaf publications in the UK, you have Troyd in America, you have figureheads like Abu Khadija, you have Abu Ayad, and you have Musa Richardson and these individuals, and Hassan al-Somali and so on. And they've taken the mantle, not just to go to the scholars as they claim, but to actually pronounce tabdi'a on other individuals themselves. They'll say, you're an innovator, your adala is lost, your justice is lost. And this is the problem with it, it has such far-reaching effects that it can stop marriages from taking place. It can actually cause divorces. It can be a segue to divorce. It can cause family discord, communal crash. all of this fawda that you refer to, the chaos that it's referring to, and is obviously stopping people from listening and benefiting from individuals who are trying to call to Islam, who are not part of their own cult or their own group or whatever it is. And so this is all built upon a praise system, okay, that we've gotten this praise from this sheikh. But in fact, those same individuals, that many of which I've named their names, haven't studied Arabic language. They can't communicate in the Arabic language. They can't even speak Arabic. They can't read the Quran. Abu Khadija cannot read the Quran. He cannot read the actual Quran. And this Abu Ayad can't speak in a conversational Arabic way. And now they're taking upon themselves to write PDFs and this and that, trying to take away the honor of Muslims. So does it? Where do they get the confidence? Delusions of grandeur. Where do they get the confidence to do this kind of thing?
Well, I guess Islam, Salafi, or the way of the Salaf, is the praise of a sheikh. That's it.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Quality, content, ilm, knowledge. No. Sheikh Fulan praised us. Khas. That's it.
But they wouldn't accept the standard for surgery. I mean, if you went to a hospital, right, and you said, well, this doctor praised me, but did you go through the process of learning?
No, that's not important. Medicine, the science of medicine, rather, the doctor who praised you, he himself is a doctor.
Right.
Right? He's legitimized through what? Through being a what? A doctor.
Yeah.
Okay, he studied, right? So I think that's the best way of looking at it is that is the way of the Salaf al-Salih. Is it just the praise, the supposed praise of one scholar?
Right.
If it is, if that's what Islam is and the Sunnah and the way of the Salaf, Imam Ahmad, if that's what it is, then there's no discussion between us and them. If that's what you think and feel, then it's nothing to talk about. And if that's not the case, then I think you should sit down and reinvestigate your theory now. We're upon guidance because Sheikh Fulan spoke of us. He spoke well of us. And because he was praised by this alim, and then this alim was praised by that alim, now it trickles down to the UK, and we're now the masters of ilm al-rijal, supposedly, jarh wa ta'dil, supposedly, and we can push out who we want and pull in who we want. If that's what you honestly think and feel, there lies no doubt you're living in a great state of illusion and delusion. Okay, to think that's how it works. All right, and there's so many different ways of looking at the fallacy of this. But once again, if 20 years of study, 15 years of study, scholastic achievements, if all of them are ignored and disdained because of one general vague praise of one item, then I would say, tafaddal. Go ahead.
You can't argue with that, can you?
It's nothing to say. If that's what you consider the way of guidance, Imam Ahmed, Ilm al-Rijal, Bukhari, Imam Muslim, Imam Tirmidhi, Imam Abu Dawood, if they consider one general vague ta'deel of one item to be enough for a narrator, tafaddal. Go ahead, you got it.
I mean, it cheapens the enterprise, doesn't it? I mean, it cheapens the entire enterprise for them to think that a single praise, a good word.
I think that it's extremely disrespectful to knowledge.
That's right.
And I think that the people who claim to love knowledge and love the scholars, they themselves are extremely disrespectful to the scholars. Extremely disrespectful from so many different aspects. And from those aspects are someone of no type of scholastic background to be attached to someone of a scholastic background. How is this your representative in the West?
Right.
It's shameful. And I'm not saying this to disrespect any scholar. And I'm not saying this to speak bad of any scholar. But this is a reality. It's a harsh reality.
Yes,
How is this person your deputy, your representative, and this person has not made any formal studies in Islam? I myself, my humble knowledge,
60 years old almost, and he doesn't know how to read the.
I don't comprehend that. I don't comprehend that.
Yeah.
And how someone who's the least achieved scholastically to be the leader. I don't understand that.
What I find really, I mean, I wouldn't, if I had a marital problem, I wouldn't do it like, as someone who can't read the Quran. I mean, I would find it very scary to find that this is the
least, to say the least.
Yeah.
Say the least. There's so many different problems with that whole entire argument and premise. But what I'm doing right now is focusing on, have we imitated those people The Prophet ﷺ says, وَمَنْ تَشَبَّهَ بِقَوْمٍ فَهُوَ مِنْهُمْ. And most people, they understand the hadith in a negative sense. Whoever imitates the people, he's from them, good and bad. So are we actually copying and imitating Imam Ahmed, Ibn al-Madini, Sufyan al-Thawri? Are we being like them? They sought knowledge. How can a person claim to love the Salaf al-Salih and he is opposed to the foundation of the Salaf al-Salih, which is ilm, which is talab, which is rihla? And how can any scholar approve and allow this person to bear his name and his legacy in Western countries? And like you said, marriage, divorce, masjids, all types of affairs. It doesn't stop. And which a person has the full monopoly. I determine who gets married, who gets divorced. I determine what masjid opens, what masjid does not open. How can you allow someone who's, I don't want to say anything bad about anyone, but how can you allow someone who has no scholastic achievements to represent you? I find that personally extremely problematic.
And it's the way they come across, it's the way they reach their conclusions as well. It's just, for example, I'm not sure if I heard this from you, one of your lectures, that you were saying that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was talking about He didn't put caveats in place. He didn't say anything except this and except that. He says, and hold firm to the rope of Allah and don't become divided. But if I came on, or yourself, we came on right now and we said, let's hold, all the Muslims should hold on to the rope of Allah and not be divided. You can expect resistance from this group.
Immediate resistance. And one of the reasons behind that is, and Allah knows that.
Yes, how does that work?
The unification of the Muslims, the strength of the Muslims is not the objective.
Yeah.
Rather, the objective is to weaken the Muslims and to make them further separated and to spread further chaos.
Do you think, is there a parallel there? Like, this might sound conspiratorial, but the American government's bid to try and, well, some argue, put black people all in one community and equip them with weapons to kind of and create these kind of gang violences, black on black crime and all that kind of thing. Divide and conquer, let them all kill themselves kind of thing, let them destroy themselves. Is there a parallel between that approach and this approach with these groups?
There are no accidents. There are no coincidences. There lies no doubt about that. There are no accidents and there are no coincidences. Where did these things come from? Who supports them? And like you just said, that is the backbone of their legitimacy. Sheikh Fulan has praised us. Why did he praise you?
Yeah.
And what was the extent of his praise? And what was the detail of his praise? And does his praise override other things from Quran, from Sunnah, from Hadith, from consensus, or other scholars disparaging you? So why? Just ask ourselves, and what has happened?
Like we'll see Allah al-Abbas.
There are many. Before and after, there are many. Yeah. And the point is not to pit scholar against scholar. That's what they do. That's not the point. The point is that what is the fruit and the result? Yeah. What's the fruit and the result? And very important point is that who is being refuted? Who is being attacked? People of clear innovations, clear misguidance, clear kufr? Are those the people, or are there others? So I have no doubt in my heart, and Allah knows best, is that there are people who don't want good for the ummah.
Yes.
And they want further division, further separation, and then they try to justify and Islamify their dark intentions by saying, oh, this principle and oh, this and oh, this. But the end result is what the end result is. So at the end of the day, the whole concept of the confusion, who is Salafi, who's not Salafi, who's refuted, who's being refuted. Sheikh Fulan praised us. Sheikh Fulan spoke against this one, so on and so forth. In general and brief, it's all a big game. It's a big game. Okay, it's a big game. And over the last 20, 25 years, we've seen the results of that game.
Yeah.
If a person actually is trying to follow the way of the Salaf al-Salih and trying to be Salafi and trying to follow the tradition of Hadith, then nothing would stop him or her from doing that. Bottom line.
That is the bottom line.
You call someone, you're not a Salafi because you said this, you're not a Salafi because you did this, and you're deviant. Okay, no problem. You're not a Salafi and you're deviant as well because you oppose the Salaf. You didn't travel to seek ilm. You didn't study. You didn't go anywhere. You didn't learn anything. Al-ilmu qabla al-qawli wal-amal. That's the first thing I learned in Surah Thalatha. Where is your systematic knowledge? Where's your formal Islamic education? If you love the Salaf so much, how have you not imitated and copied them and emulated them in their relentless talab of ilm? So let's answer that question first. Let's put that on the table first. Once we do that, everything else becomes easier. And that's because you're not qualified to speak on this issue. You're not qualified to talk about this scholastic science. You have no formal education. We don't want your worthless PDF. We don't want that. We don't want that. You understand? Anyone can write a PDF. Anyone can cut and paste. 10 people can sit in a room and put together an article. Show us where you have followed the way of Imam Ahmed and Bukhari and sought systematic ilm. Once you do that, then we can talk and we can discuss. That's what I was saying.
The concept of, I've got a question for you about at-ta'awun al-birri wa-taqwa. And we talked about this is quite a concept of people who are Salafi not working with people who are not Salafi, etc., etc. Where do you stand on this matter? Like, what do you see as? Do you see it problematic, for example, if there is an enterprise, whether it's, let's say, a dawah enterprise or a charity enterprise or whatever it is, a project that is to be done, and Muslims from different denominations, if there's a common good like a maslaha, overriding maslaha, a common interest for all of those Muslims, that they would work together on, even though, for example, you might have Sufi and Salafi, let's say for the sake of argument. Would you say that so long as one is not, we're not unifying upon aqaid, or we're not unifying upon creedal positions, but so long as one is able to freely distinguish themselves by identity, that in some contexts this wouldn't be a problem? Or would you take the hard line position of those individuals that say that it's impossible?
I would say that we don't cooperate with anyone unless they're on exactly what we're upon. If they want guidance, they'll come to us. If they want the truth, they'll come to us. It is absolutely haram to go to them, to speak to them, to teach them. You can't do anything in your community, your country, your state. Anyone else that is outside of our gates is a deviant. They're going to the fire of hell, and Allah is angry with them. We are guided. We have the knowledge. These are the scholars that we take from. And the other people that oppose us, they are partisans. They have party partisanship with them, Hizbiyah. Even though we say only us, only me, and the whole entire UK, only these, and the whole Arabia, only these, only. And we are not to do any cooperation with anyone unless they are 101% absolutely eye to eye on what we're on. That's my creed. And that is the way that the Muslims will unify. And that is the way that the Muslims will stand against their enemies. And that is the way that the Muslims will bring honor and dignity to the name of Islam, and the word of Allah will be the highest in the land through this ideology and through this practice. That's my belief on that.
I don't know if you're being, whether that was sarcasm or whether it is.
Of course. If a masjid invites me, I've studied in Medina, they said, please come and give a class. I can't give a class. Of course not. I can't give a khutbah. Of course not. If the ignorant Muslims in my city say, oh, we knew you when you were a little kid, now you, mashallah, you've studied Islam, please come teach us. Of course I can. Of course. It's impermissible.
So
that's my answer to that question.
How would you on a practical level? I had conversations with some people who do believe, like on a genuine level, that there's no room for cooperation at all. No room for cooperation at all in any situation.
I would say go back to the scholars that they quote. Don't look at the proofs and evidences, and that's because this is something very paradoxical. And if you debate with someone of this mindset, the debate will start off with Quran and Sunnah, no doubt.
Yeah.
You bring Quran and Sunnah in your favor that clearly support you, then they say, well, scholars. You quote scholars.
That's exactly how it went down when I spoke to one.
For sure. You
person.
quote
I said,
alim,
the verses are general.
then they'll say, oh no, the religion is not about the scholars. It's about Quran and Sunnah. You go back to Quran and Sunnah and say, well, who from
the way the discussion went with me and one of them was that I just said, ta'awun al-birri wa taqwa is a general verse, and unless you get something which is that does takhsis or specify it, then we have to go with the generality. And what they did was they did a hadith of
you can't allow the game to go that far. It's a joke. It's a game.
Yeah.
Once more.
Yeah.
Is it permissible for you to go to this masjid? Are they Ahlul Bidah, whatever, etc.? You say it is permissible for me to go. Why is it permissible? Allah says this. The Prophet ﷺ says that. The debate starts off with Quran and Hadith.
Right.
If they can't beat you in that, then it turns into scholars. Okay, no problem. We don't have to mention the proofs of Quran and Hadith. Let's talk about scholars. You quote another scholar, 3 scholars, they say, no, that scholar, he's not a specialist in this. Or he doesn't know this. That's from his mistakes. And that's from his errors. Okay, we can't win when we talk about scholars. Then can we use the ijma'? The argument will never go anywhere. It starts off with ijtihad and it ends up with taqleed. If you say, well, I'm a blind follower of this alim who said it's permissible to go to say, no, you can't be a blind follower of him. You can only be a blind follower of our sheikh, of this sheikh. So it's a game. And you cannot allow the game to go on. It's not a scholastic debate. It is not an issue of ilm and ijtihad. It's an issue of la'b. It's a game. It's a joke. You call them out. You invite them to have a scholastic debate with a condition of no taqleed. They won't accept. Let me clarify what I meant. Let me explain what I said. No, we will only deal with your recorded statements. We'll only cut and paste and edit and interpret how we want to interpret. It's a game. And do not allow the game to go that far, let alone the fact that these people, as I said before, they have not formally studied Islam. They do not deserve that type of respect. In which you sit down and have an actual scholastic debate because they're unprepared for that. Quran, Hadith, then it turns into scholars. Scholars back to Quran. It's a game. And you'll never, ever, ever win. All right? And we all know the Imam Shafi'i, rahimahullah ta'ala, he summed up everything. And that is, if you beat them, if you win, if you make a point, then their last frontier is to insult you and to call you a bad name.
Write a PDF.
Okay? He says, Ma nadartu aliman illa ghalabtuhu. Whenever I debated a learned man, I won. وَمَا نَاظَرَنِي أَوْ مَا نَظَرْتُ جَاهِلًا إِلَّا غَلَبَنِي. And I've never debated an ignorant man except that the ignorant man won. And that's because إِذَا ضَعَفَ بُرْهَانُهُ طَالَ لِسَانُهُ. The weaker your knowledge, the longer your tongue. So you can't win. There's no making no sense out of it. They're not going to listen to anything you say, anything you bring, anything that you prove. If you have a debate that starts off with a system, they'll take it to another system. That's first and foremost. That's first and foremost. Last but not least, the concept of a ta'awun al-birri wa taqwa, what masjid you can and cannot go to. I would advise,
not just a masjid. I would add to it like
any society, right? Program.
Yeah.
Let's ask ourselves, these great scholars that we all quote from and learn from, and they quote from, what was their opinion in view? Did Sheikh Rabi' go to other countries and other masjids, other centers? Did Sheikh Al-Albani, rahimahullah ta'ala, what masjid did he teach in? What books did he teach? This is a serious question. Sheikh Abdulaziz ibn Baz, Sheikh ibn Uthaymeen, rahimahullah, Sheikh Muqbil, when he returned from Saudi to Yemen, what masjids did he teach in? What books did he teach? What subjects did he teach? Between me and you is history. And that is Abdullah ibn Mubarak. And many of the Salaf, they would say, كُلَّ مَا اسْتَعْمَلُوا مَعْنَا الْكَذِبِ اسْتَعْمَلْنَا عَلَيْهِمُ التَّارِيخِ. Whenever they lied and they fabricated, we used history against them.
Beautiful.
And many of the Salaf, they would also say, بَيْنَنَا وَبَيْنَ الْقَوْمِ الْقَوَائِمِ. Between us and between them are legs. And what's meant by the legs of the table is the asanid, the history. So you're telling me that I can't go into any masjid unless. All right, let's not talk about Quran and Sunnah because we already know that would never go nowhere. If I quote a verse, you say that's not the proper understanding. I quote a hadith, you say that's not the proper understanding. All right, no problem. A verse that you quote, a hadith that you quote, of course, that's the proper understanding. MashaAllah, no problem. So let's quote the scholars that you quote. And let's go to history. And this is not a slander, I quote. It's not a slander. It's not an accusation. And it's not a lie. But it's a historical fact that Dr. Sheikh Rabi' ibn Hadi al-Madkhali read his life, where he went, where he traveled, who he taught, who he went out with. How can you say that, or how can you read this and then say, oh no, that's specific to him? Sheikh Al-Albani, rahimahullah ta'ala, read the masjids, the books that he taught, and the masjids in which he taught. You'll be shocked what you'll find. Sheikh Mufti, rahimahullah, before he established the Majd, read what he did. You'll be shocked. Sheikh Uthaymeen, Sheikh bin Baz, rahimahullah, read what they said, read what they did, and you'll be shocked. So let's not talk about Quran and Hadith. Let's not talk about the Athar of the Salaf, because we'll never, ever go anywhere talking like that. But I'm going to prove to you that you're a hypocrite, and that you're a liar, and that you hide information and you hide facts and you sweep history under the rug because it's against your agenda. That's all I would say. And between me and between you is that historical fact. Why haven't you mentioned that about Sheikh Rabi himself?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen Sheikh Fawzan and stuff appear on all kinds of shows and all kinds of programs, and I mean, just last year they had like a king's meeting with people from all kinds of denominations. I think some Shiites were there, in fact, as well, and they were all Sufis. They were all taking pictures together.
Between me and you is that the Islamic University of Medina. You can't study there because they're Hizbi teachers, people upon the way of Hassan al-Banna. These were many scholars and many students of knowledge who studied in Yemen say. And it's also paradoxical because they all call themselves Salafi. So those who come from the Damaj, they say, and this is a fact, it is haram. You cannot study in the Islamic University of Medina. Why can't you? They say because all of your teachers there are not Salafi. They're not upon the correct way. There's the Ikhwan al-Muslimin and Jamaat Tabligh and this and that and so on and so on and so forth. And that's a fact. That is a fact. It's not a conspiracy, that's a fact. Right. Those who do not like the Salafis of the Damaj, do not agree with them, who don't like Sheikh Yahya al-Hajuri and this one, that one, what do they say? They say, no, that's wrong. You can go to Medina. You can study in Medina. But the Hizbi teachers, the deviant teachers, you navigate through it. You pick and choose. You take the class and you move forward. All right, no problem. Tell you. So I can listen to a deviant teacher in school for 5 days out of the week, 4 years out of my life, but I can't go and teach a class to ignorant Muslims in the masjid. Don't you find that a little hypocritical and contradictory?
It's hilarious.
At the least, isn't that a little hypocritical? As you mentioned, Sheikh Fawzan, or this scholar, he appears on this TV program. He goes to this masjid. Sheikh Rabi went out with this group. He taught them. He went out with them. That's fine. But we living in the lands of kufr and shirk, in which there are church bells, and synagogues, and Catholic Church, we're not allowed to make any ta'awun, any teaching, any investment, any contribution to our societies unless there's a long, extensive list of conditions and prerequisites. I humbly find that to be extremely hypocritical. The lands of the Muslims where the most harshness should be used, in which the Sunnis are dominant and backed by the government and paid for and funded. They have the ability to say, no, you can't come here. No, we're not going there. No, we're not speaking there. And for argument's sake, if we had to go and do something which was wrong, for argument's sake, due to the necessity of the lands of kufr in which we live, let alone the fact that these Muslims in this masjid, they're ignorant. They don't have no formal way. They're cab drivers. They're immigrants. They're people who came home from jail. They need people to teach them, to educate them, and give them the basics of Islam. And you tell me that I cannot go there, but Sheikh Fulan could, and Sheikh Fulan did. I don't see any consistency in your argument. Rather, I find the rules to be extremely hypocritical. And until you establish the consistency and the parallel, until you attack that and speak out against that munkar and that evil, don't say nothing about the UK and America, lands of kufr and shirk. Because you're not being honest. You're not being honest. And like I said, these are a few examples, and this is not a slander against any scholar. It's historical facts. Historical facts. Read the biography of Sheikh Rabbani, Sheikh Muqbil, Sheikh Rabi'. Read where they went and what they did and what mashes they went into and what they did to establish what they had to establish. Read about it. Don't take it from me. But we know for sure that they're not going to mention that. Right. They have no scholastic integrity because it's a joke. It's a game.
Now, to end this podcast, I wanted to ask you now, we've spoken about lots of different things, things relating to the preservation of the Sunnah, things relating to Talab al-Ilm. We also talked about some of the rogue aspects of the community, fringe aspects, divide and conquer attitudes of these individuals. I wanted to ask you now general advice, okay, for the beginner, but now for a da'iyah, for the du'at. You know, people now, especially in our field, where we're giving dawah to non-Muslims and giving dawah to different types of Muslims who are just coming on practicing and stuff like that. What advice do you give us in terms of moving forward and trying to strengthen people?
Clear, sincerity. You got to be sincere. Who am I really doing this for? And what do I want for the people? Do I really want good for them? Do I want them to be guided? Or do I want them to remain upon misguidance? And it lies no doubt if you are sincere and you honestly, earnestly want good for someone, it's going to have an effect on what you do and how you do it. And just that one point alone, that attitude of if they wanted the guidance, they would come to us. That's not a sincere approach. That's not a sincere approach. It's not a sincere approach. If they want it, then they will come to us. If they wanted to be guided, then they would act. That's not sincere. That is a gang mentality. And a monopolizing mentality is that we have the truth and no one else is entitled to it. All right, so sincerity, al-ikhlas. You have to be sincere for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for yourself. Why am I speaking? Why am I talking? Why don't I like you, Muhammad Hijab? Is it for the face of Allah, sincerely? Or is it for other personal reasons? If I don't like you because of something that you did wrong or something that you're saying wrong, then anyone else who does the same thing, also, I'm forced to do what? Hate them as well. But we don't see that. You went there, you spoke, you're deviant. He went there and spoke, it's a different story. I'll speak with you, I'll talk with you, but I won't speak with this one, I won't talk with this one. That's not sincere. I'll debate with you. I'll debate with anyone. Every Tom, Dick, and Harry of all walks of life and religions, I'll sit, talk with them, but I won't say anything to this person. That's not sincere. And that's because there's a clear prejudice in your love and in your hate. Clear or not? Okay, so we have the concept of a noble brother, a noble ustad, a noble teacher. MashaAllah, no one's noble except for these people. No one has any respect, no contributions to knowledge, to ilm, except for them. You can't be serious. That's not sincere. And the proof that it is not sincere is that there's a prejudice in your love and in your hate. I love anyone who falls under these conditions, and I hate anyone who does what? Falls under those conditions. So al-ikhlas, sincerity for yourself, and having sincere intentions for the people that you're talking to and you're speaking to. Want good for them. You want them to be guided. You want them to receive Allah's mercy. You want them to know the truth. And not I'm looking for them to go to the fire of hell. I'm searching for their mistakes. I'm searching for their errors. I'm looking for an excuse for me to legitimize them being banished and outcast and damned. That's number one. Number two is common sense. A da'iyah and a layman Muslim, you both have the responsibility of using common sense. Do you honestly think and feel that this is the religion of Allah deep down inside? This chaotic mess? Do you think this is Islam? Do you think this is what Allah wants from us? Do you think this is ilm? Do you think this is scholarship, scholastics? Do you think this is dawah? Do you think this is how you're supposed to conduct yourself and behave and carry yourself as a Muslim, as a scholar, as a da'iyah? Do you lack sense that much? Not knowledge, but common basic aql. And we all know the value of the mind in the Quran and the Hadith and among the Salaf al-Salih. As far as the Quranic ayat, then we don't have to mention, Allah says, لِأُولِي الْأَبَابِ لِأُولِي الْأَبْصَارِ أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ. Okay? Allah Azza wa Jalla says, لِأُولِي النُّهَى. Allah praises the mind. He praises good, sound, common sense. Okay? About لَهُمْ قُلُوبٌ لَا يَفْقَهُونَ بِهَا. Allah praises aql. And the Prophet ﷺ, in so many ahadith, he taught the companions the value of the sound mind. He said, وَفِي بُطْءِ أَحَدِكُمْ صَدْقَةٌ. When a man is intimate with his wife, it's charity. What did the companions say? Ya Rasulullah, أَيَأْتِ أَحَدُنَا شَهْوَتَهُ وَيَكُونُ لَهُ فِيهَا أَجْرٌ. How can a man fulfill his base desires, his carnal desires, and get a reward from Allah? How does that make sense? What did the Prophet ﷺ say? أَرَأَيْتُمْ لَوْ وَضَعَهَا فِي حَرَامٍ أَكَانَ عَلَيْهِ وِزْرٌ. He says that if a man fulfilled his sexual desires in an unlawful way, would he get a sin? Of course he would. So he gave the companions the power of the mind, is that you have to see things correctly. Okay? The Salaf al-Salih, such as Imam Malik, rahimahullah ta'ala, was praised. Many of the scholars of Islam, they say, مَا رَأَيْتُ مُحَدِّثًا أَحْسَنَ عَقْلًا مِنْ Malik. He said, I never saw a scholar of hadith who had a greater mind, a sharper mind, and sounder intellect than Imam Malik. They didn't praise Malik for his piety. They didn't praise him for his ilm. They didn't praise him for his ittiba'. In this athar, they praised him for his what? For his aql. So having common sense, and common sense is the foundation of genius. It's the foundation of a prodigy is to have sound, solid common sense. And it allows no doubt in our minority communities in America, in the UK, in Canada, we're surrounded. You see all the dogs? You hear all the dogs around me? How many dogs did you hear barking so far? Countless dogs. We're surrounded by kufr and shirk and innovation. We're surrounded by disobedience. It is upon me to use my common sense. How can I make things better? How can I contribute to my society? And that mentality of you have to go back to him, you have to ask his permission, that's not common sense. And we both know that's not common sense, all right? Number 3, b'idhnillahi ta'ala, is deserve success. Deserve success, deserve guidance, deserve guidance. One of the most influential athletes of the 20th century, one of the most influential of them on me in my life, no doubt about that, is Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson was far more than just a boxer. He was much more than just a boxer. And many people, they don't give him his proper status and value. He wasn't just a brute or a brawler. He was far more than that. And his teacher, his mentor, his sheikh, we all know, was Customato. And Customato, when he adopted him, he made him his adopted son, and he saw his potential, and that he was literally a gifted young man that will be the youngest heavyweight champion in the history of boxing. And subhanAllah, that proved true. And right before he won the championship, Customato died. Okay, he was younger than Floyd Patterson, all right? So the moral of the story is, he gave this man principles and values of life and of boxing. And from those principles and those values was to deserve success. He would tell Mike Tyson, you're not going to win the fight because you're stronger or faster, but you win the fight because you deserve to win the fight. And that's because you trained harder than the next man. You studied it longer. You worked harder. You made your body creak and cringe. You cried out of pain. You deserve to win. So we're confused on who to take from, who to listen to, who to sit with, who's Salafi, who's not Salafi. This person said this about the Quran. This person said this about the Hadith. I don't know what to do, who to learn. I'm confused. Do you deserve guidance? Do you deserve to know how much of the basics of Islam have you studied and mastered? Have you assured for yourself that you deserve not to be confused? So most of us, we want to be guided, we want to be sure, we want to be clear, but we don't deserve it. We're not working for it. We are not studying the fundamentals of Islam. We're not reading the fundamental books of Islam. We're not studying the rudimentary things of Islam. And then we have the nerve to say, I'm confused. I don't know who to listen to. You don't deserve to know. You don't deserve to have a clear distinction, because you yourself, you don't value the fundamentals. You haven't trained hard enough. You haven't worked hard enough. And I'm not talking about being a scholar or a student of knowledge. I'm talking about being a fundamentally sound Muslim. So that's a very important piece of advice for myself and for all of us, is for us to deserve success, deserve victory. And that is by hard work. And most of us are lazy. We're lethargic. We want instant gratification, satisfaction. We want a sheikh to tell us, to give us a fatwa. We want a brother to say, oh, listen to him, and that's it. And we don't want to use our minds. We want to conveniently be spoon-fed and pampered. And then we complain later on when we're lied to, and when we're misguided, and when someone goes astray, we complain. It's so confusing. One day he's on the sunnah, the next day he's on innovation. One day we listen to him, next day he's a staunch innovator. You're going to be led around. You're going to be directed by, you're going to be pulled by the ear, by anyone who pulls your ear. And that's because you don't deserve success. So those are the 3 pieces of advice that I would give. Sincerity for Allah Azza wa Jal is to use your common sense. And bi'idhnillahi ta'ala is to train and to work hard. And the layman Muslim to comprehending the fundamentals of this religion. And for the talib al-ilm to comprehend the usul al-ilm, which will lead him to dealing with the furu' and the khilafat and the different discrepancies among the scholars, which could be intimidating or confusing. And of course, with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is all success.
Jazakumullah khairan. It's been a pleasure having you on this podcast. And this is the 7th podcast. Inshallah, I'm going to try and put them all up on some kind of SoundCloud platform. What I was going to say is, could you just tell people about your YouTube channel and your Instagram and some of your socials for people that wanted to follow you?
Jazakallah khairan for hosting me once again. It was my pleasure. And I would say that, alhamdulillah, we have hadithdisciple.com, hadithdisciple.com. And on YouTube, we have several channels. We have Hadith Disciple, and we have Mufti Q&A. Also on Instagram, we have different lessons, quotes that we post on Facebook as well. And basically, Hadith Disciple is something that has been fermenting in my mind for many, many years. When I first started the YouTube channel in 2012, it was called Hadith Studies. And alhamdulillah, I always wanted to do something for myself, by myself. I always wanted to be, inshallah, some type of key towards good. And I wanted to share what Allah gave me. I wanted to allow people to have access to certain things that they wouldn't normally have access to via video, via audio, the books that we discuss, the things that we quote from, so on and so forth. And some of the things that we like and we love, Ibn al-Qayyim, we like to share with the people. So that's what Hadith Disciple is about. That's what Mufti Q&A is about. People, they ask questions. People, they post requests. We do different khutbahs. So many things, alhamdulillah, innovative. 5 minutes of fa'idah, book reviews, different things like this, in which we have two main themes. The first theme is to introduce the layman Muslim to the sciences of the Sunnah and the sciences of Hadith, the mustalah, the terminology, the books, Bukhari, the preservation, how the Sunnah was preserved in detail. Because obviously a podcast, we can't mention everything, right? And also to give the Muslims advice, admonishments, guidance, and benefits. Those are the main points of Hadith Disciple. And alhamdulillah, it's much more than just a website or a YouTube channel, but we consider it to be a mindset, or as we said, a philosophy. We consider it to be a school of thought, a way of looking at things, a way of practicing things, emptying the cup, researching, studying, loving knowledge, and being formless. Being formless, not being rigid and stuck to one way or to one path or to one person or to one place. These are some of the guiding principles and some of the guiding values of Hadith Disciple. And I'm very proud and I'm very happy and I'm very grateful that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala inspired me to share some of these things with the Muslims and non-Muslims as well.
May Allah bless you and Jazakumullah khairan for coming on the show.
May Allah continue to guide you. May Allah keep you firm. May Allah educate all of us, guide us to the straight path. And may Allah guide us about that which the people differ. And we're all going to stand in front of Him on the day of judgment. And He's going to be the only judge, the only king. And we're going to reap what we sow.
This was the 7th episode of the MH podcast. Jazakumullah khairan to you for listening to all of it. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.